We are delighted to welcome our next presenter, Will Carter. Will is a dedicated sound healer trained in vibroacoustic therapy, RYT 200 yoga teacher, breath work, and a mindful coach with several years of experience supporting individuals on their journey towards balance and well-being. He's earned his bachelor's degree from Clemson University and is currently pursuing a master's in social work at the University of Central Florida, where he is also involved in research exploring the impact of yoga and meditation on student well-being. Will worked extensively with individuals facing addiction and mental health challenges, using integrative practices to foster resilience, emotional balance, and interconnection. His approach combines vibroacoustic sound therapy, mindful movement, and breath-centered practices to create meaningful restorative practices. Rooted in compassion and informed by research, Will's work is grounded in the belief that healing begins with reconnecting to the body, the breath, and the present moment. Let's all welcome Will Carter.
Namaste, everyone. My name is Will Carter. Such an honor to be here and sharing this time with you all. Thank you so much for having me on. It's so great to be able to participate in something like this, and so it's truly an honor. I'm not going to talk for too long, but I am a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, student, gentle guide, whatever you want to call it, and I love to call myself a lifelong learner. And I really just kind of wanted to talk about peace. I mean, it's International Peace Day. What it means to me, how can we use it in the advancement of humanity. And in my own particular journey, I really think inner peace for me really means harmony and being with what is. I am the founder of Sattvic Sound and Wellness. So we do individual group sound baths for businesses, individuals, really whatever people want. And we also do vibroacoustic therapy, meditation, breathwork practices. Really it's just a design to allow people to find practices that help them to go inward and to release things that no longer serve them. And really just to teach them the basics of mindfulness and just kind of be like a gentle guide so people can find their own key. And that's really my true belief. You know, in my lifetime, my journey, you know, it's taken me a while to kind of get on this path, but I've been to many, you know, counselors, therapists, and, you know, and the like, but like really what each of them told me is that like I really have the key to like my own success, my own peace, my own happiness, and everything. It's all inside of us. And as soon as I found that out, something shifted. And a really big part of that was getting involved in meditation, yoga, sound therapy, and I'll be providing a short little sound therapy session here in just a little bit, but really, I guess back to the question, what does peace mean for me? I really think it means harmony and being with what is. You know, I used to be such a big judger of myself. And, you know, I used to judge myself for feeling a certain way, not feeling a certain way. You know, if something happens and, you know, I'm mad about it, or, you know, I'm not as happy as I think I should be. I place all of these expectations upon myself, and like really what it leads to is deharmonizing myself is what I like to call it, you know. And, you know, through meditation practice, specifically in the way that I was trained in the Vipassana tradition, I read a book called Start Where You Are and When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron, and she always talks about being with whatever arises. You know, I had this preconceived notion that meditation was always supposed to be this blissful experience, this transcendental state to my own divinity. But after a while of practicing, I really came to my own conclusion that, really my own inner peace is just allowing everything to come and go as it will, just as the clouds are in the sky, and really just coming home to my own true nature and not placing labels, good or bad, or judgments on anything. And so that's really what peace means to me, as well as honoring all of the things and the challenges and the difficulties that have really plagued me for my entire life. A lot of people have these core beliefs that, either they're not worthy, they're not good enough, or they don't matter. And I was all three of those at one point or another. And I really think peace comes from finding the light inside the wound. Rumi said the wound is the place that the light enters you. So that's really what I think peace means to me. And how can we leverage that, to help others, advance humanity. In graduate school at University of Central Florida to become a therapist of some sort, and I hope to really use these practices to help others, and not to, teach others what I think they should know, but really I think where I was most helped was, once I understood that I hold the key to my own inner healing, and all these practices, sound therapy, meditation, breath work, yoga, all of them take me inward. And once I unlock that stuff, it's, it helps me to live by spiritual principles, because that's really, my main practice is, how am I showing up in my daily life? Am I being compassionate towards others? Am I allowing other people to be who they are, not who I think they should be? A lot of my life I placed expectations not only on myself but others, and I think this is a time where we're experiencing political violence, anger, greed, a thirst for power, and I think that really what's plaguing everybody is our own egos are getting in the way. And I'm very much guilty of this myself sometimes, is we always have a desire to be right. And Pema Chodron said that all suffering is rooted in ignorance. And my ignorance really comes from how I think things should be. That's probably the number one thing that takes away my peace. And when I'm carrying that out into the world, I'm trying to place expectations on how other people should be, how I think the world should be, and in this way I'm not in harmony with myself, and I think sound therapy, at least in my own experience, has given me the opportunity to use mindfulness as a way of listening and coming back in harmony with my body, my mind and my spirit. And I remember my first sound bath I ever attended, I just had this crazy experience, and I thought it was going to be like that every time. And so I started practicing meditation and everything, and the more I went out into my life, I kept noticing a lot of these disturbances that kept coming up, and really that's where our true spiritual work lies. How in harmony am I with my surroundings, the universe, and other people, my relationships, things like that. So all of those I think are really key points in how we can leverage our own inner peace and carry it out into our daily lives, and not placing blame on other people. I think that's where a lot of political violence comes from. Anger, thirst for power is other people's desire to be right, my own desire to be right, and what I think I know best. And it's rooted in ignorance. And I think we can all really work together by, being in harmony with one another, achieving peace, allowing other people to have their own experience, allowing other people to, have their beliefs about things. Even if you don't believe the same thing, that doesn't mean that we can't get along and both be on the same path. Everybody has their own experience, and I'm not going to believe, the same thing as another person that maybe comes from a different culture, a different place, has had different experiences than me, because our experiences make up who we are, and I really think that, through these practices, it allows me to take a step back and, really look at truth. Yoga and mindfulness, connects me to the oneness, not only of myself, but of the universe. We all are one, and it starts with the individual. I think the less that I look at myself, the more disturbing life is, because it's my reaction to life, that really has plagued me. Usually it's not anything that the world has done, or somebody has done to me in this day and age, but it's how I'm reacting to like my everyday surroundings. And so the more in harmony I am, the more at peace I am. The less I blame others, the less I blame myself, the less I judge myself, the less I judge others, and things like that. So, and all of this stuff is knowledge and wisdom that we already know, but I'm also a person that can know all of the things, all of the, be philosophically comforted, but, I think the deepest truth comes from when I understand it and not just know it. Understand where somebody's coming from. I think we can also leverage compassion when we are with other people in our relationships, with ourselves, our parents, children, especially children. And the Dalai Lama said, if you want to be happy, practice compassion. It's not only for yourself, but it's for others as well. And the more compassionate I am for myself, the more compassionate I am with others, and that leads to less judgments, less expectations. In meditation, I always say, like, we're just letting everything be as it is. Like, we're loosening our grip. I used to walk around in life just like with my hand, gripped like this almost, it seemed like, and I can never figure out really why. I'm always like waiting for the next shoe to drop, and like I'm just constantly living in fear. But like, through mindfulness, like if I just take a gentle nudge towards the things that are just around and just understanding what it's like to be with that stuff and to breathe through that stuff and to sit with that stuff, the faster that stuff goes. And, the more peace I have and the more I can go around in my day-to-day life, letting things come and go. I'm less disturbed, I'm less agitated. Maybe I didn't misspeak to somebody, maybe I didn't react, and all those are positives. And blame, ignorance, confusion, all of those things that are really cloud the mind from, how connected we all really are. Like, we all are nature. We are just as much nature as the trees are, and the ground, the clouds in the sky, the birds and the bees, and the flowers, everything like that. So, I think the more that we treat nature itself with the love and compassion it deserves, the kinder the universe is to us, and the kinder we are to ourselves. That kind of goes towards environmental stewardship, and so that's really what it means to me, and just kind of giving up the right to be offended. Like, usually I'm offended if somebody says something that I think is not true, and it's all my ego, right? My ego is who I think I am, but it's really not who I think I am. Who I am is a divine being having a human experience. And on this day, I think it's all so important for us to remember that. And I'm just truly honored to be here with you all. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the sound bath experience. I'll be recording a little video for us, just playing the bowls. I hope you enjoy, and I'll really look forward to getting to hear what everybody else has to say about peace, and looking forward to learning, open, and sending love to everybody on this day. Namaste. Namaste, everyone. My name is Will Carter. Such an honor to be here and sharing this time with you all. Thank you so much for having me on. It's so great to be able to participate in something like this, and so it's truly an honor. I'm not going to talk for too long, but I am a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, student, gentle guide, whatever you want to call it, and I love to call myself a lifelong learner. And I really just kind of wanted to talk about peace. I mean, it's International Peace Day. What it means to me, how can we use it in the advancement of humanity. And in my own particular journey, I really think inner peace for me really means harmony and being with what is. I am the founder of Sattvic Sound and Wellness, so we do individual group sound baths for businesses, individuals, really whatever people want. And we also do vibroacoustic therapy, meditation, breathwork practices. Really, it's just a design to allow people to find practices that help them to go inward, to release things that no longer serve them, and really just to teach them the basics of mindfulness and just kind of be like a gentle guide so people can find their own key. That's really my true belief. I've in my lifetime, my journey, it's taken me a while to kind of get on this path, but I've been to many, counselors, therapists, and and the like. But like really, what each of them told me is that like I really have the key to like my own success, my own peace, my own happiness, and everything. It's all inside of us. And as soon as I found that out, something shifted. And a really big part of that was getting involved in meditation, yoga, sound therapy, and I'll be providing a short little sound therapy session here in just a little bit. But really, I guess back to the question, what does peace mean for me? I really think it means harmony and being with what is. I used to be such a big judger of myself, and I used to judge myself for feeling a certain way, not feeling a certain way. If something happens and I'm mad about it, or I'm not as happy as I think I should be, I place all of these expectations upon myself, and like really what it leads to is deharmonizing myself, is what I like to call it. And through meditation practice, specifically in the way that I was trained in the Vipassana tradition, I read a book called Start Where You Are and When Things Fall Apart by Georgina, and she always talks about being with whatever arises. I had this preconceived notion that meditation was always supposed to be this blissful experience, this transcendental state to my own divinity. But after a while of practicing, I really came to my own conclusion that way I'm not in harmony with myself, and I think sound therapy, at least in my own experience, has given me the opportunity to use mindfulness as a way of listening and coming back in harmony with my body, my mind and my spirit. And I remember my first sound bath I ever attended. Like, I just had this crazy experience, and I thought it was going to be like that every time. And so I started practicing meditation and everything. And like, the more I went out into my life, like, I kept noticing like a lot of these disturbances that kept coming up. And really, that's where like our true spiritual work lies. Like, how in harmony am I with my surroundings, the universe, and other people, my relationships, things like that. So all of those, I think, are really key points in how we can leverage our own inner peace and carry it out into our daily lives, and not placing blame on other people. I think that's where a lot of political violence comes from. Anger, thirst for power is other people's desire to be right, my own desire to be right, and what I think I know best. And it's rooted in ignorance. And I think we can all really work together by, being in harmony with one another, achieving peace, like allowing other people to have their own experience, allowing other people to, have their beliefs about things. Even if you don't believe the same thing, that doesn't mean that we can't get along and both be on the same path. Everybody has their own experience, and I'm not going to believe, the same thing as another person that maybe comes from a different culture, a different place, has had different experiences than me, because our experiences make up who we are, and I really think that, through these practices, it allows me to take a step back and, really look at truth. Yoga and mindfulness, connects me to the oneness, not only of myself, but of the universe. We all are one, and it starts with the individual. I think the less that I look at myself, the more disturbing life is, because it's my reaction to life, that really has plagued me. Usually it's not anything that the world has done, or somebody has done to me in this day and age, but it's how I'm reacting to like my everyday surroundings. And so the more in harmony I am, the more at peace I am. The less I blame others, the less I blame myself, the less I judge myself, the less I judge others, things like that. So again, all of this stuff is knowledge and wisdom that we already know, but I'm also a person that can know all of the things, all of the, be philosophically comforted, but, I think the deepest truth comes from when I understand it and not just know it. Understand where somebody's coming from. I think we can also leverage compassion when we are with other people in our relationships, with ourselves, our parents, children, especially children. And the Dalai Lama said, if you want to be happy, practice compassion. It's not only for yourself, but it's for others as well. And the more compassionate I am for myself, the more compassionate I am with others, and that leads to less judgments, less expectations. And meditation, I always say, like, we're just letting everything be as it is. Like, we're loosening our grip. I used to walk around in life just like with my hand, gripped like this, almost, it seemed like, and I could never figure out really why. I'm always like waiting for the next shoe to drop, and like I'm just constantly living in fear. But like, through mindfulness, like, if I that's really what it means to me. And just kind of giving up the right to be offended. Like usually I'm offended if somebody says something that I think is not true, and it's all my ego, right? My ego is who I think I am, but it's really not who I think I am. Who I am is a divine being having a human experience. And on this day, I think it's all so important for us to remember that. And I'm just truly honored to be here with you all. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the sound bath experience. I'll be recording a little video for us, just playing the balls. I hope you enjoy, and I'll really look forward to getting to hear what everybody else has to say about peace, and looking forward to learning. Open, and sending love to everybody on this day. Namaste.
Thank you, Will, for opening our hearts and minds to the sound, mindfulness, and movement can guide us into greater peace. Your reflections remind us that peace is not only an inner state, but also a living vibration, something we can nurture through awareness and intention. By learning to harmonize body, mind, and spirit, we can create the conditions for resilience and compassion to naturally arise both within and around us. We are deeply grateful for the vision you've shared today and for the ways your work continues to help others cultivating healing, wholeness, and a deeper resonance of peace in their lives. We are now going to take another short break to prepare for our next presenter. Please take a moment to stretch, grab some water, or just breathe. We'll be back soon.
Our next presenter and keynote speaker is an extraordinary teacher and healer whose message of love, light, and compassion has touched and transformed lives across the globe. Mirabai Devi is a world-renowned spiritual teacher, a radiant conduit for the divine feminine, an inspirational speaker, author, global healer, and the founder of both the Mirabai Devi Foundation, her 501c3 nonprofit, and Mirabai Devi LLC. For over 34 years, she has dedicated her life to raising world consciousness through the awakening and healing of humanity, one soul at a time. Born in South Africa and now living in Hawaii, Mirabai has traveled internationally offering programs, group healings, and teachings that have uplifted millions. She provides private sessions, group workshops, and public presentations at conferences and festivals. She is also a frequent podcast guest, including a recent feature on Sense of Soul. Her work integrates spiritual teachings, guided visualizations, healing practices, devotional chanting, and most uniquely, her powerful transmission of divine light. Through this transmission, Mirabai encourages all people to turn inward, connect with the inner light, and directly experience their own awakening. Her foundation also houses the Lightworker School, which educates, empowers, and uplifts individuals to hold the light in their own communities as teachers, healers, and leaders. With open hearts, we warmly welcome Mirabai into our circle today. She joins us with extraordinary gifts, timeless wisdom, and a radiant love for humanity. We are deeply grateful for the light, grace, and presence she so generously shares.
Namaste, everybody. Welcome. I'm Mirabai Devi from the Mirabai Devi Foundation, and I'm honored to be here with you all at the Echoes of One Summit. And great to see everybody here today. And I'm here to give a blessing and a teaching on global peace and planetary healing. So, beloved friends, we are living in a time of profound transformation, a sacred turning point where humanity is being called to awaken into a higher octave of awareness, what I call planetary consciousness. Planetary consciousness is the living recognition that nothing in creation is separate. Nothing. We are not separate from one another. We are not separate from the earth. And we are not separate from the luminous web of life that breathes through all of existence. Every thought that we think, every action that we take ripples outward, sharing and shaping not only our personal lives, but the collective field in which all of humanity shares. For so long, humanity has lived under the illusion of separation, believing ourselves to be isolated from individuals, cut off from nature, from one another, and even from spirit. And yet, this illusion has created both astonishing advances and the deepest suffering. And yet, the times we live in now, these are different times. They are holy times. They are urgent. The earth herself is calling us to remember who we are in every cell of our being and in the greater body of humanity, threads woven into the shimmering fabric of the earth. To embody planetary consciousness is to shift from the me into the we. It is to understand that every forest, every child, every ocean, every creature, every drop of water, and every breath of air is bound to our own. Healing our planet is inseparable from healing ourselves. When we cultivate peace within, we become transmitters of peace for the whole. When we act with compassion in the smallest of ways, we strengthen the collective field of love that makes global healing possible. This is not an abstract philosophy. This is fully alive. It is urgent. It is a daily practice. Planetary consciousness asks us to walk with open hearts, to see with the eyes of unity, and to live as though every step that we take imprints the earth with either harmony or disharmony, because it does. It really does. And so the question arises, once we awaken to this deeper awareness, what do we do with it? How do we sustain it, nurture it, and allow it to guide our lives? This is where the practice of holding the light is so very essential. So when we speak of planetary consciousness, we speak of an awakening that touches every layer of our being, every layer. It is not only about thinking differently, it is about being differently. It calls us to remember that the earth herself is a living, breathing organism, and that humanity is but one of her many radiant expressions. To live in planetary consciousness is to re-enter a sacred relationship with the earth. It is to see her as a mother, our teacher, and our beloved. We attune ourselves to her rhythms, her cycles, her deep wisdom. When she thrives, we thrive. When she suffers, we too are diminished. This awareness also transforms how we see one another. Imagine looking into the eyes of any person, regardless of race, belief, or culture, and recognizing not a stranger, but a reflection of your own divine essence. Imagine knowing that within each person burns that same eternal spark that dwells within you. This is how the vision of planetary consciousness awakens. The end of division, the return to unity. And yet, awakening is only the first step. To truly live in planetary consciousness, we must embody it. We must embody it in our actions. And it begins in the simplest of ways. It begins in our simple choices, the way we speak, the kindness we offer to our neighbors, the foods that we eat and we bless. It's the respect that we show to the waters and to the land. But it also extends to the vision that we hold for humanity's future. Without that vision, our awareness dissipates. Without that vision, our collective energy fragments. So to sustain planetary consciousness, we must hold a vision of a healed and unified planet. This means refusing despair when the world appears torn apart. It means carrying the inner strength to keep seeing what is possible, even when circumstances reflect otherwise. Vision is a spiritual force Every great transformation in history has been born from a vision carried by hearts who refused to let it die. Visions of freedom, equality, peace, and a new way of life. Now we too are called to carry a vision of a humanity reborn, a vision of the earth restored, of love triumphant. Holding that vision is not passive, not at all. It's an active living prayer. If we envision peace, then we are called to speak peace, embody peace, and sow peace wherever we walk. If we envision a planet in renewal, then we must live as caretakers of the earth with reverence for all life. And when we hold this vision together, our power multiplies. Many beams of light converge into one brilliant sun, and the vision becomes magnetic. This is how drawing new realities into being creates planetary consciousness and allows it to ripen into planetary transformation. So the power of collective unity and coherence, beloveds. Humanity now stands at a crossroads. We see pain, we see war, we see poverty, we see fear, and we see so much despair. But we also see hope, acts of courage, kindness, awakening, and unity. Each of us is a seed of transformation, and together, we form the garden of the future. When we come together with shared intention, something greater than the sum of our individual energies is born. And that is the miracle of coherence. When a group meditates, breathes, and prays in love together, the heart fields of each person begin to synchronize. Their rhythms harmonize like instruments, tuning to the same note. This shared resonance is not poetic imagination. This is measurable. It is measurable, and research has shown us that when groups meditate together, heart rhythms and even brain waves fall into synchrony. This is profound. Our brains, which often race with different thoughts and distractions, begin to slow into the same patterns, the same calm rhythmic waves. Isn't that amazing? Alpha and theta frequencies, the brain states of peace, compassion, and deep awareness. These states become dominant. These states become dominant, not just individually, but collectively. This is called group coherence. And when brainwave coherence and heart coherence merge, the nervous system calms, stress dissolves, and a rhythm of peace emanates outward. And this field is not contained in the room. It radiates into the wider collective consciousness. So studies from HeartMath Institute and Transcendental Meditation confirm what mystics have always known. During large group meditations, violent crime drops, emergency calls decrease, hospital admissions fall, communities shift towards balance, and the weather changes My beloveds, think about what this means. When we join together in love, our synchronized hearts and our coherent brainwaves literally shift the vibration of the planet. When enough of us anchor together in coherence, chaos diminishes, dormant consciousness awakens, and peace spreads like ripples across the oceans of the world. It is like striking a pure tone with a tuning fork. The surrounding strings naturally align with it. And yet the real power is not in numbers alone. The real power is in the purity of our presence. Judgment, anger, and division create distortion, but unconditional love serves and creates total clarity, forgiveness, compassion, and reverence for all life, stabilizes the field. Love is the divine order of the universe. Love brings harmony to chaos, brings light to darkness, and wholeness to whatever is broken. This is why every prayer matters. Every act of kindness matters. Every time you choose peace over anger, you are transmitting into the collective. Each ripple builds upon a tidal wave of light is born, unstoppable, healing, illuminating the entire earth. This is why we are here together tonight. Not by chance, but by holy appointment. We are here to be that tidal wave of light, to weave our sparks into one radiant flame, to birth a new tomorrow through the love that we embody today. Planetary consciousness and our collective vision, beloveds, are two streams that flow into one river. Awareness of unity must be joined with the vision of a healed world. And that vision must be amplified by the power of our coherence. Through the power of our coherence. Every gesture of care, every prayer of peace, every vision of renewal multiplies when joined with the intentions of others. We are not passive witnesses to a suffering earth. We are active participants in her rebirth. So bring your heart, bring your vision, bring your prayers into this field and sense the vast network of light that we are weaving together. A network that touches every continent, every ocean, every being throughout eternity. It is here. This vision is not far away. It is here being born through us right now in this very moment. So my beloved ones, the first step in this holy work is to hold the vision. Vision is a spiritual seed, a living prayer that we place in the fertile soil of the collective consciousness. To hold the vision is not to escape this world, but rather to breathe into the possibility, the potential, to breathe that into being We are not here to ignore suffering. So together with me now, please close your eyes just for a moment. Place your hands over your heart. Feel the warmth, the life, the rhythm moving within you. Imagine as vividly as you can, see a fully healed planet. A fully healed planet. See the rivers flowing clear and pure. See the forests lush with life. Creatures abundant. Oceans teeming with marine life and vitality. See children of all nations playing together. Their laughter is ringing as bells of joy and freedom. See communities living in cooperation, in respect for one another, guided by wisdom, justice, and love. And see yourself, beloveds, see yourself living as a beacon of light, a vessel of compassion, a transmitter of peace. That is who you are. Hold this vision in your heart as if it were already real, as if it were already done. For the spiritual realm is the blueprint of the visible. The invisible precedes the visible. Your vision is not an illusion. It is the template for a new reality, a prayer made manifest. Holding the vision requires dedication. It requires that we return again and again, like pilgrims, to the heart of what we are called to create. When the world outside seems chaotic, when the news or the circumstances of life threaten to pull you into despair, let it steady you. Let it remind you of the divine order that underlies all apparent disorder. Vision is also a spiritual force. Throughout history, all great transformations, freedom, equality, justice, awakening, have been carried in the hearts of those who refused to let the vision die, refused to let the vision die. Now, beloveds, that same sacred work is ours. We are called to carry the vision of a healed planet, of humanity living in unity, of love triumphant. To hold this vision is to engage in an active prayer. It is to live as if the world you wish to see is already unfolding. Speak peace, act in harmony, sow kindness wherever you go. And know that when we hold this vision together, our light magnifies, our collective light magnifies. Like many beams converging into one sun, our collective focus draws the possibility of healing into reality. And I ask you to take a nice deep breath and release your hand from your heart. And let's just call that in together. And now we're going to talk about connecting with your higher self. Connecting with your higher self is about sustaining the vision of living in harmony with the divine. And in order to do that, to sustain that, we must learn to live in a deep alignment with our higher self or our divine self. The higher or divine self is not a concept. It is not an idea. It is the most real part of you in existence, in all of existence. It is the eternal spark of light within you. Feel that, the eternal spark of light within you. The radiant and unchanging essence that never dies, that is never tainted, that is always in direct communion with the divine source. Your higher self is the part of you that remains untouched by pain, beyond fear, beyond limitation. It is the part of you that knows only truth, that moves only in love, that is ever awake, that is aware, even when the personality self forgets and goes off to sleep. Now, what does it mean to connect with your higher self? To connect with your higher self, it means remembering who you truly are beneath the surface roles, the masks, the stories that you play in this lifetime. It means remembering that you are not your fears. You are not your wounds. You are not your limitations. You are a vast, eternal consciousness. You are temporarily experiencing life in a human body. Most people live identified with only the surface self, with their thoughts, their emotions, their desires, and the roles that they play in daily life. But these are like waves on the ocean, moving and changing. They rise and they fall. The higher self is like the depth, the deep depth of the ocean itself, steady and unmoving, infinite and profound. When you connect with your higher self, you begin to live from that depth, from that very depth, rather than being tossed around by the surface currents of life. To connect with this deeper truth, you must learn to turn inward. The world around you is filled with noise, filled with distractions, filled with endless demands. If you only look outward, you will be swept up in those waves. But when you turn inward inside of yourself, you will become quiet and still. You will begin to sense that sacred center within yourself, the space where the divine presence dwells within you and resides, where your higher self is always waiting, always waiting. Your higher self does not shout for attention, never shouts for attention. It doesn't compete with the outside world at all. It doesn't compete with the noise. It is gentle, subtle, like the soft light of dawn breaking through the darkness. It speaks in whispers, in intuition, in the quiet knowing that arises in your heart. Please take just a moment, my friends, just one moment, and tune into your heart. Tune into that quiet knowing in your heart right now. And as you tune into that quiet knowing in your heart, take some nice deep breaths and recognize your heart. Recognize that when your higher self talks or speaks to you, sometimes it comes as a sudden insight. Sometimes it comes as a flash of clarity, that flash of clarity that makes everything feel aligned. Isn't that beautiful? When you get that guidance, that clear flash of guidance, and you know exactly now what it is you need to do, where you need to be, where you need to go. That guidance just feels aligned. And sometimes it feels just like a gentle nudge, just gently nudging you along, just like that spiritual divine sheepdog that is guiding you along the path, and a sense of rightness, that rightness that guides you towards the path of love, that path of service, and that path of expansion. Sometimes the higher self speaks through resonance, through the way your body and your heart feel when you are aligned with the truth. You are aligned with the truth, and your body and your heart speaks through resonance to you. There is peace. There is clarity. There is a sense of expansion, of lightness, as though your whole being is breathing more freely. You can feel that. Your whole being is breathing more freely. Because when you act from the higher self, you act from love, you act from truth, not from fear, not from compulsion, not from reactivity, but from wisdom and spaciousness. Just feel that. That feels good. Wisdom, spaciousness, right? Not fear, not compulsion, not reactivity, right? That's the ego nature that speaks from those lower self places. So, beloveds, when you're living in alignment with your higher self, this is not passive. This is not about sitting back and waiting for life to happen. This is about becoming a conscious participant, where you are participating with the divine within you, right? It's you being led, guided, and directed by the divine within you. And that requires commitment, awareness, and the willingness to let go of the false sense of control that the ego so desperately clings to. Clinging to that sense of control, the ego. And so it means surrendering the small self, its agendas, and opening to the greater wisdom that sees beyond the limits of your personality. So when you begin to live in this way, you will find that your life totally transforms. The world around you will respond to you differently because of your presence, because your inner state of your inner being shapes the energy that you radiate into the outer world. When you are rooted in your higher self, storms may swirl around you. but you are not shaken. You are unshaken. In moments of confusion, you radiate clarity. In moments where you are in the presence of fear, you emanate love. Your very being becomes a stabilizing, healing force for others. A stabilizing, healing force for others. And this is how awakening spreads, not through words alone, but through your presence. When you live aligned with your higher self, you become a living example of peace in a restless world. Love in a fearful world. Clarity in a confused world. You become a beacon of light to others, to invite others to remember, to awaken to their own higher self. Now, what blocks that connection with your higher self? The greatest obstacles on your path are your identification with fear, your attachment to the past, and the habit of believing that you are only your limited mind and your limited body. Fear contracts your awareness and makes you forget the vastness of who you are. Attachment binds you to old patterns, stories, and identities that no longer serve you. Let them go. The limited mind insists upon control and struggles to surrender into that flow of divine consciousness. But your higher self is never absent, never, never absent. You are never alone. Even when you feel disconnected, even when you are lost in confusion or in pain, your higher self is still present, still watching, still guiding, still waiting patiently for you to turn towards it. Like the sun hidden behind the clouds. The clouds may obscure it, but they can never extinguish its light. Never. The light of the sun can never be extinguished by the clouds that surround it. Even if they cross over the sun, the light of the sun is always there, shining brightly on everyone. And the more you choose to honor this inner presence, the stronger the connection becomes. Over time, you begin to recognize the subtle ways in which the inner self communicates to you. You begin to trust its whispers, even when they defy logic, because you sense the deeper truth underlying within you. You discover that its guidance always leads you to freedom, always towards healing, towards expansion, even if the path requires much courage. Living in communion with your higher self also means embracing a broader perspective. From the viewpoint of the ego, life appears fragmented, full of obstacles and struggles. But from the viewpoint of your higher self, everything is part of a greater unfolding, a divine choreography. What once seemed like difficulty is now becoming an opportunity. This divine choreography is that of you learning and you awakening. And what once felt like loss to you now becomes a sacred initiation. So as you live more and more from this perspective, you discover that you are never truly alone. Your higher self is your bridge to the infinite, your bridge to the infinite. That's your rainbow bridge. And that's what you follow, that bridge to the divine source that is within you, that is always there within you, and it is beyond you. So the higher self and the divine self are not separate. They are one and the same. There are two ways of describing one radiant, same reality. So to connect with your higher self is to remember your oneness with the eternal light, your oneness with the eternal light. Beloved ones, the journey of connecting with your higher self is the journey of remembering your eternal essence, remembering that you are already whole, remembering that beneath all appearances, you are light, you are love, you are infinite. And when you live in that remembrance, when you commit to living in that remembrance, you bless the world simply by being who you truly are. So knowing all of this, how do we get spiritually active or activated? Because awakening, dear ones, is not a private affair. It is not meant to be secret or hidden away, like kept as a secret jewel or stored as a treasure to be hoarded. No, awakening is a flame to be lived, to be shared, to be expressed openly in the world. It is the natural radiance of your soul that is shining forth amongst and through your words, your choices, and your very presence. To be spiritually active means that the inner alignment that you cultivate with love, with truth, and with unity ripples outward into every single dimension of your life, but into all of life. It touches not only your meditation cushion or your moments of stillness, but it also touches the way that you speak, the way you communicate to others with your voice, the way you hold yourself in the community, right? The way you hold yourself, the way you navigate through the challenges of this world. Spiritual activity is not always dramatic or grand. No, it's not. It's often subtle. It's woven into the most ordinary of moments. It's found in a kind word offered to a stranger. It's in a gesture of patience. When frustration arises in you, it's in a silent blessing. When you pass someone in need, the forgiveness that you extend to others, the grace in which you carry yourself through difficulty. These may seem small, but they are powerful, so powerful. Every action rooted in love strengthens the collective field of humanity. Every single action that you root in love will strengthen that collective field of humanity. Every gesture of compassion sends ripples into the unseen realms, touching countless lives in ways that you may never fully know. Never. So consider the food that you eat. Bless your meal with gratitude to the divine before you partake. It's not a meaningless ritual. It's a spiritual act. It aligns your body with appreciation and your food with sacredness. Consider the water that you drink, to pause in reverence. These are living waters. These living waters sustain all beings. This is a spiritual act of devotion. Consider the earth beneath your feet, that very Mother Earth. Walk on her gently. Treat the land with respect. Honor its creatures, all life forms, as kin, as family. All life forms are your family. They are your family. We need to wake up, all of us, to realize this, to recognize this, to see with the eyes of the divine, to feel with the heart of compassion. This is spiritual activism in its truest sense. It requires no audience, no applause. It is the quietest revolution of love. And yet, beloveds, there are also moments when being spiritually active calls for courage, initiative, and visibility. There are times when your voice is needed to defend the vulnerable, to stand up for justice, to protect the earth, right? To protect the earth, to speak on behalf of all of the creatures who cannot speak, who cannot be heard by humanity. And these moments may not be comfortable. They may challenge your sense of safety or push you to expand beyond your familiar limits. But when such moments come, know that Spirit is asking you to embody love in action. Love in action. And in those times, do not move from impulse. Do not move from reactivity. Instead, allow your higher self to guide you, to hold you so that your words may be steady, that your presence may be strong, and let your heart be rooted in love. Let it be rooted, centered, always in love. Remember that true spiritual action never arises from anger or from separation. Never, never. It arises from clarity, from compassion, from the recognition of unity. When you act from this place, your courage becomes your medicine for the world. That's how it is. Your courage becomes your medicine for the world. So being spiritually active also means embracing responsibility for the energy that you bring into every space, every conversation, every meeting, every household gathering is an opportunity to be a bringer of light. Are you contributing to fear, to gossip, to division? Or are you contributing to healing, to peace, to greater understanding? Which one? Because it reminds you that you have the power to shape the field around you through your presence alone. Your presence alone shapes the field around you for everyone, for everything. To live in this way, to live in this way is to recognize that the divine is in all beings. It's in all things. Just see the sacred, not just in temples or on altars, but in every face, in every tree, in every river, in every stone. When you look upon each other and another, see the divine essence within them. Honor the earth as alive. Elevate them. Not only yourself, but all of them. The earth is alive, conscious, sacred. And you are entering now with this awareness into the harmony with the deeper rhythms of creation. And this is spiritual activism in its purest form. This is living in reverence for all life and for all that is. And some people may ask, does one person's spiritual activism really matter? does one act of kindness, one moment of forgiveness, one choice to honor life truly change the vast world that we live in? And the answer, my friends, is yes. Yes. Immensely. Every drop of water contributes to the ocean. Every spark of light contributes to the fire. The collective transformation is built upon the countless unseen everyday acts of love carried out by individuals who have chosen to live awake. Think of it this way. When even a single person chooses to radiate love, they shift the frequency of the whole field around them. This field touches their family. This field touches the entire web of the community and the web of all life, everywhere. When thousands or millions of beings live in this way, the entire consciousness of humanity is uplifted. What begins as one person's choice becomes a global awakening. What begins as one person's choice, one person becomes a global awakening. So, my beloveds, to be spiritually active is to remember that your awakening is not for yourself alone. It is not a possession. It is a responsibility and a gift meant for you to share. You did not come into this world to simply seek your own liberation. You came to be an instrument of love, to embody the light of the divine in action, to participate in the healing of humanity and the healing of the earth. This doesn't mean that you must always be perfect, that you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you will never stumble, never feel tired, never falter. What matters is your intention. Your intention. The ongoing choice to return again and again to love, only to love. Spiritual activism is not about doing everything flawlessly. It's about aligning again and again and again with the truth of who you are and expressing that truth in the way that you live. And so, my beloveds, I invite you to see every moment of your life as an opportunity for spiritual action, every interaction as a chance for you to bring forth the greatest compassion, every challenge as a doorway for you to embody love more fully. This is how we participate in the creation of a healed world, not through waiting for others to lead, not through hoping that change will come from the outside, but rather through living as active vessels of spirit in our own lives. In this way, awakening becomes not an escape from the world, but a deeper engagement with the world. Spirituality becomes not a retreat into silence alone, but an active, ongoing participation in the dance of life. And through this, beloveds, through this, the world is transformed, not by force, not by conquest, but by the quiet, steady radiance of love lived out loud. Beloved ones, no soul shines in isolation. No one awakens alone. Awakening is not a solitary path. Even though the journey inward feels deeply personal, in truth, every step you take into greater awareness, every moment you open your heart, every truth that you embody radiates outwards and touches all of humanity. We are not separate travelers wandering through existence. We are one body of light, one vast consciousness expressing itself through many forms. Humanity heals through connection, through mutual support, through the recognition that your awakening and my awakening are woven together. What one of us embodies uplifts the whole, and what one of us suffers affects the whole. And this is the mystery and the beauty of oneness. Community, whether you call it Sangha, fellowship, or family of light, it is not a luxury. It is a spiritual necessity. Just as a single cell thrives only when connected to the whole body, the individual soul flourishes when it is rooted in community, when it receives and offers support within the greater web of life. And so, my beloveds, support one another, celebrate each other's growth, even when it seems small or invisible. See the breakthroughs that others may not yet recognize in themselves. Speak words that uplift, that remind your brothers and your sisters of their eternal worth, their own divine essence, their capacity to rise again and again. Offer your gentle guidance when you're called, but always with humility and patience, because true support is never about control nor about judgment. It is about presence, about walking alongside another in love. It is about holding space when someone falters, extending a hand when someone stumbles, and reminding them of the light when they have momentarily forgotten their own brilliance. Each time you support another being, you strengthen the collective field of love. You weave an invisible web that extends across continents, across oceans, across cultures. This web is the very fabric of humanity's healing. It is built not through grand declarations alone, but through simple, everyday gestures. A smile, a word of encouragement, a willingness to listen deeply. Never underestimate the power of these small offerings. A single word of kindness can restore hope. A single gesture of care can reawaken trust. A single presence of patience can bring healing to a wounded heart. These ripples of love travel farther than the human mind can possibly imagine. What begins in one moment between two souls can echo across generations. So, beloved ones, recognize the sacredness of this support. Encourage each other, help others, because in truth, there is no separation. Because what you give to the whole, what you withhold from the whole. When you open your heart to another's journey, you're opening your heart to your own. And this is why Spirit calls us to be generous with our love. Because love is not a resource that diminishes when shared. It is infinite. The more you give, the more it multiplies. The more you share it, the stronger it becomes within you. When you allow love to flow freely, you participate in the restoration of the collective consciousness. So just imagine, beloveds, just imagine what becomes possible when communities come together in unity, when souls gather together to amplify another's light. rather than compete, diminish, or isolate. Because what one soul radiates, many can magnify, many hearts can hold, many can carry. And together we become a network of light, a constellation of compassion that radiates healing across the world. And now, in closing, my dear beloveds, I say to you, stay anchored in the light, because the light is your true essence. When fear arises, beloveds, return to the light. When anger tempts you, return to the light. When despair whispers to you, return to the light. To stay anchored in the light does not mean ignoring reality. It's not denying suffering or turning away from the challenges of the world, but rather it's the opposite. It means facing reality with a heart centered in love, walking into the storms of life, not with fear, but with trust, meeting pain with compassion, confusion with clarity, division with unity. So anchor yourself deeply in the light. Don't withdraw from life. Become more engaged with life. You're not swept into chaos. You're not indifferent to it. You are becoming a living conduit through which the divine can flow, touching hearts, uplifting souls, and healing the earth. Beloveds, you are the ones that we have been waiting for. We are the healers. We are the visionaries. We are the carriers of love. Don't wait for somebody else to bring the solutions, because the solution is already inside of you. Don't wait for the world to change before you shine, for your shining is part of this world's transformation. And this is how you live. This is your sacred commitment, the vow that you make with yourself, the vow with the divine, the vow to embody the light every day, in every thought, in every word, in every action. A vow to let your blessings be your presence, to remember who you are, even when the world forgets who you are. And my beloveds, this is how we heal the earth, not only through our outer efforts, but through the inner consistency and constancy of living as anchored beings of light. And when enough of us hold this vibration, this collective field will shift, undeniably so, because darkness cannot prevail when hearts are steady in the light. So let us remember, the light within you is eternal. It is stronger than fear, stronger than anger, stronger than despair. And anchor yourself within it again and again, and you will not be moved. You will become a beacon of light for others. Anchor yourself in it, and together we will radiate a field of love that is strong enough to heal the entire world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Blessings to everybody here at Echoes of One. Blessings of love and light. And namaste. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirabai, for opening our hearts to the power of divine light and reminding us of our shared responsibility to care for one another and our planet. Your words call us back to unity, compassion, and love beyond borders, showing us that true healing begins within each of us and ripples outward into the world. We are deeply grateful for your over 34 years of devoted service, for the countless lives you've touched, and for the vision of global peace and planetary healing you so beautifully embody. Thank you for guiding us to remember that together we can uplift humanity and restore balance to our Earth. We'll take a quick break now. It's the perfect opportunity to give yourself a breath, move your body, or enjoy some water.
Joining us now is Lenore Cullen, a visionary healer, speaker, and the founder of Attunement for Life. For decades, Lenore has dedicated herself to both personal and collective well-being, creating experiences that release limitations, restore harmony, and awaken new visions for ourselves and for the world. She pioneered a new modality of medicine at the Association for Research and Enlightenment Clinic in Phoenix, Arizona, developing attunement with color, light, and music. A process that combines guided imagery with vibrational healing, empowering clients to actively participate in their own journey of transformation. Her groundbreaking film, Attunement for Personal and Planetary Transformation, premiered in India at a conference on the evolution of healing, organized by the international spiritual community of Auroville. Collaborating with award-winning musician Craig Press, her audio and video tools, along with her live events, have touched thousands globally, inspiring breakthroughs in health, relationships, creativity, and expanded awareness. While living on a mountaintop in Costa Rica, Lenore discovered her ability to connect at the quantum level, to offer focused energy and healing from a distance. These remote sessions have proven highly effective for resolving deep-rooted challenges, whether persistent conditions, early trauma, or an inherited imprint, freeing clients from unconscious patterns and offering ripples of healing to their loved ones as well. Through her attunement process, Lenore offers a profound synergy for evolving the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of human potential. Blending ancient wisdom with quantum principles, her holistic approach leaves a lasting impact on all who seek true transformation of heart, mind, and spirit. We are honored to welcome Lenore Cullen to share her wisdom and presence with us today.
Hello. Hello, friends. Today, on this International Day of Peace, we have learned so many ways, so many paths to peace, so many opportunities we have at every moment to transform our own experience and to ripple out those effects into the world. We have seen and learned that the scientific research has verified that what we do on the inside, what our awareness is, what our intentions are so important and can actually change our life and everything around us. Today, I'm going to share a few of the highlights of how I came to understand this myself and to find ways to work with it more effectively for myself and also for others. And I'll be giving you also some ways that you can participate and very easily deepen many of the concepts we've been hearing about today with some easy reminders and tools that you can use on your own. First of all, I remember when I was in elementary school, maybe 6 or 7 years old, and there was a solar system model in the classroom with the sun and the earth, all the planets. And I used to try to imagine how this could be what we're learning, how we must be those tiny speck on the earth, and yet our lives seem to be so huge, and the earth. But having that perspective is something that I believe all my life I have attempted to maintain. And that's one of the tips among many I'll be dropping along the way of how we can shift our awareness in just moments when we remember that perspective, which later I came to understand as spiritual beings having a human experience, going to that perspective helps to change our perception in those moments when life can seem so difficult. Another turning point for me was, this is jumping ahead, when I was living in France as a student and then also later married. I know there was a lot of student unrest at that time in the late 60s, early 70s, a long time ago, but this still holds today because I saw that there were young people that seemed to have a certain amount of creativity and dedication. Their way of wanting to bring about transformation was playing a sort of Robin Hood, where they would go into gourmet boutiques and steal, even break in and steal champagne and caviar and distribute it to the poor in the ghettos in the outskirts of Paris. And then also the students at one time were overturning vehicles and setting them aflame. They were fighting against materialism or capitalism or whatever. In their minds, they maybe just needed to express themselves. But the outcome I saw was that people didn't stop as much to pick up the hitchhikers. So the young people actually lost one of their greatest freedoms that they had, at least to that extent, where they used to travel so freely all over France. And at that time, people would hesitate to pick them up. And then, but what the conclusion that I came to when I saw that was that I wanted to find a better way to transform our lives and through consciousness, from the inside out, to develop that feeling of freedom and also of prosperity from the inside out, to support people in realizing that they do and can have those freedoms and showing them ways to do that. But that my part, I somehow understood, would be through shifting the consciousness and the beliefs from within. And so I had opportunities to transform my own awareness, to teach in Africa for 2 years. At the same time, I had become a new mother. And also I was introduced to transcendental meditation back then. So I was able somehow to handle all of those experiences and challenges, even not having been trained as a teacher. I had 160 African teenagers per day who I had to communicate in French in order to teach English. So it seemed quite a daunting task, but somehow I was able to rise to the occasion, just as I am today with you, where I've been asked to share some of my journey, and I'm just delighted to be able to do that. My intention for you today, all those listening now and maybe in the future to recordings, is for you to benefit in whatever ways are most helpful, that you will hear something that will spark some positive change or a bit of hope or some easy way to transform your life in ways that you would like to. In fact, I like to think of a magic wand that we all have, which is, as Mirabai was just suggesting, our attention and our intention. These are way more powerful and effective than many of us imagine or understand. And I have found ways for myself initially to incorporate and to focus on all the things that were most important and helpful to me in my own journey of soul searching, you might say, or seeking the deeper truth and better ways of improving and contributing to a better world. So I had lived in France and Africa meditating. And then when my husband left, and by then I was back in the New York area, then the Course in Miracles came into my life. And I realized the importance of forgiveness, as we have also seen in some of these programs today. So the Course in Miracles then became very important in my life. I was introduced to it even before the books were published. And I knew immediately this is something I can do. And I wanted to, and I eventually, it took me into more of a path of service in social services in New York. And then actually beyond that, where I wanted to promote health rather than in the social services where people already had. I was actually working in Medicaid, so trying to help to finance or determine eligibility. That by then, the Course in Miracles was very helpful, but I also wanted to develop holistic programs that would help people develop health on many different levels. And I had the opportunity to do that in Colorado. I moved to Boulder, and there I discovered the Colorado Institute of Transpersonal Psychology, where I was able to teach the Course in Miracles and also develop holistic programs based on all this seeking that I had been doing, learning and studying all kinds of healing and spiritual paths and meditation. But then I moved to Phoenix, and I had the intention to develop my own path. But when I would just sit and meditate without any process, I found my mind was going all over the place. So I developed a process for myself that helped me keep on track with the things that were important to me, with, and I had studied the effects of colors and the energy centers in the body, the importance of forgiveness. In fact, because I was still having problems myself with my own health and tremendous headaches, and really felt like I was struggling with my health. I wanted to use the tools that I had used in the most effective way. So that's why I developed this process, going through the colors of this spectrum, which is quite a universal process. And at each point along the way, I would cultivate those qualities that I would like to have in myself. For example, with the color red, to help strengthen my physical body and stir up the energy, connect with the earth. And I found that intention to feel more in the physical body helped to encourage the energy flows. And then I go into the orange, and that's also very supportive of health and vitality. And yellow is more for clarity and mental clarity, organization, divine order. In the heart center, there was green and pink. And also, ultimately, there was white and gold. And as I developed this process, well, I realized and I learned, and I also was able to test out with using Kirlian photography when I was at the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology in Boulder. I found that with the Kirlian photography, the combination of breath work and intention and visualization was the most effective in clarifying and enhancing our energy systems, and especially in the heart. And that became the very first part of my attunement process that I developed through a series of realizations and practicing this on myself, so that later we found, as you've heard today, through the HeartMath Institute, there's been so much research validating many of the things that I discovered. So it's a very heart-centered process, and yet a full spectrum experience. After the heart center is the throat area for communication and alignment with the divine. And then the deeper shade of indigo helped to deepen and focus our vision, our higher vision. And all of this was qualified by intention. As I said, this magic wand that we have is our intention and our attention combined. So this process helped me stay focused on what was most helpful for me. And then after sending out what vision I would have, the higher vision for myself and the world, that would bring us to the crown or the top of the head with the violet light to help transform the entire body, all of the levels, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels, and higher. And then that brings us, and that actually culminates in the total forgiveness of ourselves and of others, which was one of the goals, to more fully embody the principles in the Course in Miracles. And so I felt it was very helpful for me, and my health improved, and I was guided. Actually, after the crown with the violet, I had the gold coming down, and with a vision of peace and prosperity for humanity and the earth. And of course, whatever we give out, we have to know that we have it ourselves. We receive in the process of giving. In fact, a concept I like to express is that whenever we have a thought or a feeling directed toward someone else, it's like sending a letter, except they only get the copy. We get to keep the original. So that's a good motivation to be very vigilant. And I learned that through the Course in Miracles, to pay more attention to what energy am I giving out? What am I looking for that glass half full, or am I looking at the half empty glass? So to keep cultivating in myself the reality that I prefer, to keep lifting up whatever arises. And then I had the opportunity, I volunteered at the ARE medical clinic based on Edgar Cayce principles, and they happened to be looking for someone to develop a new modality using color, light, and guided. It didn't include guided imagery, but I brought that, my own meditation that I had developed. And the results were dramatic with the patients. And I was only referred patients that not only the mainstream medicine couldn't help generally, unless it was their preference, but even the doctors there, if they could help the patients, they wouldn't send them to me. But the difficult ones, and they had such major breakthroughs. For example, there was a man who he wasn't spiritually inclined before, but he was in pain from an auto accident, and even the advanced biofeedback devices, he was sensitive to that, and so they sent him to me for the color and music therapy, and he had his third eye opened right at the indigo place at the third eye. He had a whole vision of a small boy on a tricycle who was hit by a car, and his mother comes running out of the house, so angry at first, and then in such distress because this little boy died. And I asked the man, well, how do you feel about that boy? And he said, well, this is strange, but it feels like me. So I asked him, what would you tell that little boy? And he said, well, it's not your fault. You were too young to realize why you shouldn't be riding in the street. So, and his pain was completely gone after forgiving that boy. after that vision, but every case was completely unique. And the pain was completely gone after that session. And he came back just to have the spiritual experiences and visions and awareness that he had during the sessions. And there was also an architect who came for a physical reason, and he kept coming back because he would get inspirations for new designs. But the very first client I had, the very first paying client after I became promoted to a therapist in energy medicine there, he sat up at the end of the session and asked, "Does this happen to everyone?" And because he was the first client, I said, "Yes, it does." What are you experiencing now? And he said, "Unconditional love." He said, "I've been looking for this through high, expensive, and grueling workshops, but here in a half-hour session, I'm feeling it." And he was so happy. He went around and invited other therapists and people around the clinic to come with us out to dinner to celebrate. So then I took this process into private homes and public settings, and people who had transformations there asked me to create a video so they could continue having breakthroughs at home. This one woman in particular told me that with the color red, she had such a breakthrough that even though her husband didn't also attend, it was like a honeymoon in their relationship. And then another time when she attended, she had a breakthrough transformation with the color yellow, and found that she and her husband could then work together more harmoniously to found and create the first charter school in Arizona for gifted and specially abled children. They were so happy, and even 10 years later, they confirmed to me that they really felt that it was my process, even though it was only the wife who attended, that had made it possible for them to make that tremendous progress in their relationship and in their lives. So they actually supported me while I created this video, which I called Attunement, and that name was born while I was at the ARE Medical Clinic, based on a quote by Edgar Cayce, that all strength and all wisdom comes from attuning, and all healing comes from attuning of the living cellular force to our spiritual heritage. So I've realized I had come across in trying to help myself, and I'm sure many of you watching now will have the same experience. It's something that has helped you, and even our biggest problems can then become our greatest gifts as we're able to help others with whatever our struggles are. And so I do want you to know today that when you go to my webpage, and it should be in the background there for you, attunement.life. In the middle of the page, you'll find a 5-minute Golden Attunement, which is actually the finale of this full spectrum attunement, like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, where in 5 minutes, because I worked with this wonderful musician, Craig Pruis, who had platinum records in his studio in England for collaborations, and he was meditating 4 hours a day with the advanced TM program. He fully orchestrated my ideas and my initial electric piano recording of what I wanted to use to support this process. And so his fully orchestrated version will support you and make that 5 minutes so valuable for yourself to raise your own vibration and to bring it into harmony, and also to activate and support your own visions for humanity and the world. So in just 5 minutes, you can use that. If you go to the middle of my page, scroll down, be sure to turn the sound on to unmute it. And then you'll, if you use earbuds, it'll be, we get the best effect, but the energies have been building for now 4 decades. That was 40 years ago. I was working at the ARE clinic, and this program, it's not HD, but it's an inner, like a dreamlike. It helps you focus on your inner self and with opportunities to make decisions about the world and the life that you would like to create for yourself, for others, and for the world. So also, this is important. When you go on that page, you can just watch the 5-minute video immediately, and then if you subscribe, you'll have an opportunity to receive as a gift the full spectrum attunement for personal and planetary transformation. So I hope you will choose to do that and make use of it. You don't even just listening to it or to any part of it that you would like to go deeper with or review. I've been told that by one couple that they listened every night for 5 years. They found it so sustaining, and that was through several remissions from cancer. So this program has been used in many ways, and I'm here today because I'm remembering some of these stories, especially for the last year. So I have found ways to share them, and I hope you will take advantage and enjoy evolving, and also finding out how I can help you with remote healing if you feel you would like support for more persistent issues that might be from trauma or inherited situations, which often, which I've found ways to very specifically address to support you. So today, in closing, I would like to thank the organizers and Echoes of One for what you have offered today. So much support for all of us. And one word, here's another tip for you. And you've heard it a lot. You've heard the word namaste. To me, it's like a summary of the Course in Miracles, just a reminder of that light and that love in me, honors that light and that love in you. So thank you so much, my friends. May peace prevail on earth. We can do it. It's already here. It's here in our hearts, and we can share it. So thank you so much for your attention and your intentions. Namaste.
Thank you, Lenore, for the profound wisdom and healing energy you've shared with us. Your work reminds us that true transformation touches every level of our body, mind, and spirit, and that each of us has the capacity to release what no longer serves us and awakens to a greater wholeness. We are deeply grateful for the decades of dedication, vision, and love you bring into the world, and for the way your presence today has opened new doorways of possibility within us all. May the ripples of your gift continue to inspire harmony, freedom, and light for everyone gathered here. On behalf of the Echoes of One team, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to each of you who have joined us today. Your presence, your hearts, your shared energy are what make gatherings like this not just an event, but a living moment. As we conclude, let us remember that peace is not only built on grand gestures, it is nurtured in the small, everyday acts of kindness, patience, and compassion. Each of us has the power to be an echo of love in our families, our neighborhoods, and our world. Whether it's an offering of a smile to a stranger, listening deeply to someone in need, or dedicating your time and gifts to serve our community, every act matters. When we choose to embody goodness, we ripple hope outward, touching lives that we may never meet. As you go forth from here, may you carry this inspiration with you. May you be an echo of love, of unity, of peace, one small act at a time, until together our echoes create a chorus that transforms the world. Thank you for being part of this global awakening. With gratitude and hope, we look forward to the continued journey we share as one.
Hello, everyone. I'm Drew Thomas, co-founder of Echoes of One. I want to take a moment to extend our deepest gratitude. We are profoundly thankful to all of our presenters for their incredible contributions to this Peace Summit. Your words, your music, and your presence have illuminated us and inspired a collective sense of unity. We also want to honor our amazing volunteer team for their remarkable commitment and love. Your tireless dedication and countless hours have made this gathering possible. Truly, we could not have done this without you. And I'd like to extend a very special thank you to my dear friend and colleague, Sandra, for her vision and partnership in co-creating this summit. This has been a true grassroots effort, and I look forward to the many opportunities ahead to continue creating together. Our name, Echoes of One, was born from the understanding that when we touch even a single life with love, kindness, or compassion, we send ripples of positive energy that extend far beyond what we can see or imagine. Every act, every word, every gesture, no matter how small, has the power to resonate across communities, across borders, and even across generations. We are all threads in the intricate web of life, and each of us carries the capacity to influence the world around us. It is this profound interconnectedness that inspires and guides our work, reminding us that our choices matter and that peace begins with the awareness of our shared humanity. When we act from the heart, when we extend understanding, forgiveness, or support, we contribute to a larger harmony. Finally, to each of you in the audience, thank you for being here, for showing up, and for bringing your full presence to this gathering. Your commitment, your heart, and your willingness to envision a brighter world are what make this collective experience so powerful. Each of you is a vital part of the ripple effect we create together, and I honor the courage and love you bring to this moment. Until next time, thank you.